Hi, I'm not wearing any pants and we are chilling in the nightmare. The topic for this video is my philosophy of raising children. And you might be thinking, why would I be listening to this burnout trucker tell me how to raise my kids? Well, probably a lot of people don't even have kids. So, I mean, and my kids are very young, so I don't have a lot of experience. But I do have a 8 or 9 year old, even though I haven't seen her in a long time because of terrible things that happened. So I do know a thing or two about it, and I know a thing or two about the world, and I have a vision for the future. And so what I really want to talk about is my vision for the future relative to my philosophy of raising children. First off, this is the first thing that comes up when you're having kids. One of the first things is I would consider myself an anti-vaxxer for reasons of you cannot really trust these people. And, my really great friend who passed away recently, he said that, he lived in Norway, and he said that over there, a vaccine is an inoculation where it's just straight up, this is the thing, here's the thing, now you will not die from the thing. But over here in the United States, what we have for vaccines are just like weird chemical cocktails that have all sorts of, autoimmune repercussions, as well as, terrible afflictions affiliated with them, and doing all kinds of damage to all kinds of people. And, they're being pushed on you by, first off, for instance, one of the major manufacturers of these vaccines is a criminal organization who paid the largest criminal fine in history for being a criminal organization. And then you're supposed to take what they're giving to you. It's like, you are criminals, so no thanks. And then doctors are snakes. They wear snakes on their clothes. You cannot trust them. They're telling you right on their clothes that they are snakes, wearing a snake around. You say, oh, that's the caduceus. It's a symbol. Well, the caduceus is an ancient symbol. It has to do with Mercury. It has to do with gathering money and collecting money from all over the place. That was like wrapped up in the caduceus, and Mercury was always flying around collecting money. And that's basically what the doctors are out there doing. They're out there scooping up money from here and there and there. And don't get me wrong, I love surgeons. I think surgeons are awesome. Surgeons have saved me so many times, but I do not think too highly of doctors, except when they're good. There's exceptions to the rule. But one time I went to the hospital and I had 3 doctors looking at my, shingles. And 3 doctors did not know what shingles were. I was young at the time. I got it weirdly young, but there was one who didn't know, and then he found another one who didn't know, and then they found a third one, and none of these 3 doctors knew what shingles were. So that's all I really think about them. And then they want you to take these things, which you obviously know is poison, and inject it into your kid. And I don't want to do that. But I did have a baby in the Philippines, and in order to get the baby from the Philippines to the United States, there were certain injections that had to be injected into the baby. And so that sucked, but it was, one of those situations where you didn't have a choice. And that's kind of my philosophy about these vaccines is, if they're going to put a gun to your head and they've got you over a barrel and they have enough leverage to force you into doing it, then that's a different story. So then the next thing that comes up is like, well, if you want them to go to school, they're going to have to get their injections. And it's like, that's if I want them to go to school, which is a whole other thing. Do I want my kids to go to school? No, I don't. I've heard this is a problem. Just in general, it's a problem. If you don't want your kids to go to school, that's a problem, and you're going to be getting in trouble for it. And even if you're doing homeschool, there's still some government mandated curriculum involved with having them be homeschooled. I haven't gotten that far down the path yet. Not looking forward to it. It's very important to me that my children be intelligent, but I don't think school is the place for becoming intelligent. I'm only going by my experience of school, which was they had to drag me there kicking and screaming and I hated every second of it, from when I was a small child to when I was an adult. If you watch the Addams Family movie, when they send Wednesday Addams to school, she gets them and she's like, oh, it's a prison for children. That's my experience of it, and that's my thoughts about it. I think it's a prison for children. I don't want my kid shuttled off to this government facility every day, where she can be around a bunch of, I'm not going to criticize all the other kids in the world, but I will say that I would rather she not be tied up with them. What I want my child to be doing is to be with her mother. I don't really care what they're doing. I want them to learn reading, writing, arithmetic. I want my daughters to stay close to their mother, learn reading, writing, arithmetic, and be curious and full of wonder, and happy. I want them to be happy, and I don't think forcing them into a prison for children all day, every day is going to make them happy, because my experience was that it made me completely miserable for a really long time, and I don't have anybody else's experience to go on. I only have mine. And also, it's generally a bad sign when you're being forced into something, and evidently they don't take kindly to when you reject their child's prison. They get mad about it, and you get to start having problems, but I haven't gotten that far yet, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. But I don't want my kids to be forced into that place. And if they want to go, I guess maybe we'll go get them their injections and let them try it out, if they really want it. But they're gonna have to really want it enough to bother me enough to actually put them through it, or because I'm definitely gonna try to avoid it as much as possible until I just have to give up and say, all right, go get your shots and go get into that child's prison that you want to go to so badly. I think my kids are going to be kind of loners anyways, because we live above a daycare and there's children playing outside all the time. But my little girl, who's maybe almost 3, sort of, she watches these kids playing, but she doesn't play with them, which is kind of depressing. I do wish she had people to play with, but I work so much and her mother is a foreigner, and it's really just not gonna happen. But I don't even really care or want her to play with them, because my older daughter, who I mentioned earlier, she was in and out of daycares for her whole life pretty much, and she was always sick, for one thing. And that's my joke about the daycare downstairs. It's the Wuhan Institute of Virology down there, because that's really all I think about places where children gather, is that they're like a petri dish, a big giant playpen, petri dish playground where all the kids go to pick up strange illnesses. And so I don't know, if she's not around these other kids, there's worse things that have happened. I don't feel too bad about it, although it's not ideal. It would be ideal if she had playmates. She just doesn't. But she does have her mother, and she does have her little baby sister now. And her little baby sister is going to have her older sister, and they're always going to be with their mother. And in my mind, that's the most important thing, is keeping the children close to their mother. I think that there's a very important connection between a mother and a child and a mother, and that cannot be understated and it cannot be overstated. It's just extremely important that children are close to their mother in general. And it's sad when it goes wrong, and it can't be so. It's also important that children be close to their father, but we know that's a lot more difficult. But at the bare minimum, children should be close to their mother. And what are we doing? We're sending them off to all these strangers. It's like, oh, your mother needs to go be a secretary, or some kind of software engineer. You cannot have your mother because she's engineering software. So just here's some babysitter person. That's not good. I don't like that, and I don't approve of that. I would never want that for my kids. I want what's best, in my opinion, and that is stay close to your mother, stay out of the child's prison. don't get injected with poisons. Like, they wanted to suck her blood so they could test it for lead. I was like, I don't even understand where she would have been around lead. But even if she was, I don't want you sucking my daughter's blood, because for all I know, you're drinking it. With these people, you don't know what they're doing. I mean, probably they're not drinking, but they're definitely metaphorically drinking it. Like I said, you know, there's snakes, and maybe the people, if the doctors are snakes, maybe the lab techs are vampires. Who knows? You know, and they're not literally drinking it, but they're metaphorically drinking. They want to suck out her blood. Like, no. My daughter's blood stays in my daughter's body. This is common sense. It's her blood. It's not your blood. I'm not afraid of lead or whatever you want me to be afraid of this week or last week or next week. It's her blood. We're not sucking it out of there. So, you know, we're getting up through school time with my vision for their lives. And, you know, at some point in time, my little girls are going to turn into little women. And they're going to experience, you know, life as a little woman who's going to have, you know, presumably male suitors. I want her, I don't care about if she joins the workforce. I do not believe women belong in the workforce. I believe women belong in the home, and that goes the same for my daughters. And, you know, you could fight me all you want, or you could get upset about it, but it's just common sense. We don't have good homes because women are off in the workforce, and we don't have a good workforce because women are in the workforce. They belong in the home, and it's better that way for everybody. And I sit here and debate it with you, all the ways it's better for women to be in the home and out of the workforce, but we don't need to talk about it because it's common sense. So I want that for my daughters. I want them, my goal for their education is to learn how to find a good man who will take care of them forever. I don't care if I don't want them to become a software engineer, you know, or a secretary or whatever. I want them to become a housewife. I don't think there's anything better that a woman can do than to be a mother and a housewife. Being a mother is the best thing that somebody can possibly be if they are a woman. And being a housewife is the second best thing. So being a software engineer is a stupid thing to be relative to being a mother and a housewife. And that's what I want for my daughters. I want them to learn how to be good mothers and good housewives, and how to find a man who is worthy of, you know, having her, raising his children and keeping his home. And there's not a lot of those men. That's the tricky part, is how she's going to find one of them. And especially with the way the world is today, you know, but a lot of the problems we've been having is because the mothers are off in the workforce and the children are being raised by the public education system. And how are they going to, you know, find a good man like that? I mean, in different cultures have different solutions to this problem. I mean, the most obvious one is arranged marriages, which is, you know, why the heck not, if that's what it comes down to. But I would really just rather they be well informed about how to identify a good man and what the criteria are, and they don't participate in all the chaos and degeneracy of what other younger people are doing, because Lord only knows. And so, all right, so now they're in some man's home, potentially. What if they're not in some man's home? I want them to be in my home. I don't want them to disappear when they're 18. I don't want to throw them out into the street and say, go be a secretary or a software engineer. This is my house and you get out of here. No. I want them, if they're not going to be in some man's house, I want them in my house. I would not want some man in my house, though. That would not work. But close by, maybe. That's a weird detail, splitting hairs at that point to get into What if she brings the guy home? It's like, that's the wrong guy. You should not be bringing home. I know, dude, I was the biggest loser. I can criticize all the losers because I was the biggest loser. You never met a loser who lost more than I did. So that's what I want for them. And I want to keep them in the house, and I want to keep them close, and I want to never give up on them because, I had a mother and a father, and my father, he's been doing everything wrong my entire life, except for one thing. He was a good provider. So, okay, great. You're a good provider, but everything else, you've just been completely awful. And it taught me a lot. So mostly what I learned from my father was what not to do. And then on the flip side, my mother was a perfect angel, and everything I learned from my mother is what I will be doing. Is she, my father taught me what not to do, and my mother taught me what to do. And the thing, she never gave up on me or never turned her back on me. She always took care of me, and that's what I'm going to do for my children. And my father, meanwhile, is not going to get into it because it's stupid personal things. But he taught me what not to do. And so all of these things, when I'm thinking about what to do with my children, is the opposite. And also his mentality was a very American mentality where, you throw the kids out of the nest and say, yeah, I got the nest all to myself. But, I believe in the Asian philosophy, or not even just Asian, most cultures that are all westernized and civilized and defunct, they keep the family units tight because, that's where the strength is. If you're all spread out to the four winds, you're all diminished by it. If you're together, you're, stronger. And if you're spread out, you're weaker. That's just, once again, coming back to a common sense thing. But, my wife is a Filipina, and her family, I think of them as my family also. They're very close. And it's, a really nice thing, because over here, I don't really have any family. And the family I do have, I haven't seen them in a really long time. And, maybe we were close when we were young, but this is the United States, and, we're all too busy. And it's been so long that we don't even know how do you go back after decades of being tossed to the winds? How do you return to whatever was there previously? I don't know. So we're probably not going to, is what I would imagine. A lot of things in the United States, you just say, forget it, whatever. What are you going to do? And so, but I want my children to be close to me also. And that's the other thing about being a housewife and a mother, is I want the grandbabies. We've had this stupid mentality. I don't know about Gen X, and I don't know about Gen Z, but the millennials had this, definitely, and probably all the other generations too, but they're telling us, don't make babies. Let everyone else in the world make babies, but you people, no, you don't make babies. You go be software engineers and secretaries, and you have feminism, and but just do anything other than making babies. And if you do make a baby, we have a clinic where you can fix your mistake. And that's not cool. And we're not doing that in the future. I don't know about anybody else, but for my daughters, I want them to make babies. I want them to start making babies when they're little, and I want them to keep making babies until they're old, and I want all those babies to make babies. And we're all going to stay together. And that's my vision, So mostly there's kind of a common theme here, is like it's just fixing other people's mistakes. And this ties into my other video about stupidity, about just how much stupidity can you possibly take before you gotta start turning things around. And I don't know about anybody else, but I am my own person, and I have my own attitudes and opinions and views and visions. And I'm going to do things my way. because I am the father of these children, and I have seen the stupidity of the world and familiarized myself with it more than I ever wanted to. And I was taught all the wrong things to do, so I know all the right things to do. Maybe not all, but I was taught a lot of wrong things, and I was also taught a lot of right things. And I know that doing the right thing is the only thing to do. So that's my philosophy of raising children, you know, from the cradle to my grave. And then hopefully when I'm gone, all these little babies that, you know, are gonna show up later on will remember me and remember that I cared about them a lot, and that the world was, you know, against us all, and in spite of the world, we did the right thing. That's it. Deuces.